Hello everyone, welcome back to Friday Inclusive Talk of Kickstarts, and I'm Dr. Saima Wasti, an occupational therapist and founder and director of Kickstarts Rehabilitation LLP. And I'm very happy and excited to host Ms. Shreya Jain from Mumbai, who is founder of Reservoir. By profession, she is an engineer and an MBA, but her passion marks a remarkable difference in the field of inclusivity. We are happy to have her here. She's going to talk about what led to the founding of Reservoir and her journey with her brother, 20-year-old young man with autism, and who sets an example for further discussion on this journey of Shreya. Thank you so much, Shreya, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon.
Okay, so would you like to tell us more about Reservoir? How did you begin with this journey, and what were the challenges when you set it up?
Sure. So, like you said, like you already told the listeners, that I did my engineering and my MBA. So, the plan was always to work in the pharmaceutical space. Got my first job there. I was working as a marketing executive. But so while I was in college, I was working with this organization in New York called the Global Autism Project. They do a lot of work in terms of building resources for people with different cultural backgrounds and making them accessible. Right? So I was working on a very, very interesting project. And after my MBA got done, they invited me to work in New York with them and implement the project. So I think that experience was very, very instrumental in realizing the kind of resources that are available for our community in other parts of the world. And somehow I suddenly realized that my brother has been leading a life in a certain way because we didn't even know about certain kind of helps, certain kind of resources or therapy or the kind of infrastructure that's available out there is amazing. So when I came back, even though I was doing my job, somehow my mind always kept going back and thinking, what is it that I can do for my brother and for people around me who are on the autism spectrum, and just in general for people who are differently able, right? And I think that motivated me to quit my job and start my journey with Reservoir. My first challenge was to figure out where I wanted to start. I think this space has, while it has incredible people working, I think it's still very unorganized. And in terms of how do people reach out to these incredible people is still not very easy, right? So what I finally realized was that I'll start working on something that is very close to me, that I understand really well. So I started working with young adults and adults who are neurodiverse and who are differently able. And in fact, through a personal experience, I started working on the theme of future security of young adults. So yeah, that's how I started, and I'll share more with you
That's
as we,
great.
as we
That's
continue our
great. So,
conversation.
what all services does Reservoir offer, like in the financial security or otherwise? What all do you look into?
Sure. So essentially, what Reservoir is, it's a digital platform which makes support and services accessible to the neurodiverse community. Right. So I will not give you a list of services because that will not be comprehensive. I will talk about a few of them. Right.
Yeah, yeah, sure,
we,
definitely.
we since we started with future security as our primary driver, I'll talk about that a little bit. So
Yeah.
under future security, we think two things are most important. One is legal guidance and financial guidance. Because
Mm.
these are the two things I believe parents should seek professional help for. Everything else they are more or less equipped to deal with on their own, right? But legal guidance is something that, because you and I don't understand the law as
Mm.
is, we should hire a professional who can make us understand our rights,
Mm.
because also along with rights is equally important is responsibility, right? So
Mm.
um, when I talk about legal security, there are a few services that are very, very beneficial in ensuring that a young person who's on the spectrum can remain secure and safe if the guardian is absent, right?
Mm.
So I'm sure you've heard of legal guardianship under the National Trust Act, right? So
Yes, yes,
we
I'm
can
aware.
help you apply for that, right? So
Hmm.
then we help you also set up a special deeds trust, which is the mechanism which allows money management after the parents, right? So how
Hmm.
does sure, like in India, people start saving for the child before the child is born. Also, we're just born in a way that we save for the future.
Yes,
So we've
that
saved
does
money,
happen.
but how does this money become accessible to your family after you, right? So
Hmm.
for my brother who has severe autism, right, and who's not independent at all, how will he
Hmm.
manage his own money? So a trust is the mechanism which safeguards the money for his use and benefit only.
Hmm.
So we advise parents on how they can do this, how they can set up a structure for themselves and their family. And
Hmm.
in the beginning, this process seems slightly intimidating, but
Hmm.
once you understand it, it gives you so much freedom. It gives you so much.
Hmm.
Um, it empowers you to do what you want to do without being afraid of the future, right? And
That's
even
really
like some
amazing.
simple things like writing your will, we keep postponing it.
Yes,
We always think that
we do
we
that.
are very, very young, right? I don't know how many parents you've met who will often think that
True.
will is something that you do in your old age.
That does exist. That thought structure exists on when the time will come. So yes, that point you highlighted very well. But what I understand is that this journey of legal guardianship and financial security that you began with Reservoir. So can you talk about what if there were any resistance faced from the families, and how do you explain it to them, and more about that?
I think that's a really good question. Um, See, one, naturally, we don't want to think about death, right? And then we don't want to think about our child's future without us because it's very scary and all of these questions can be very daunting. So I think the idea in itself is to take a positive approach on this, which might not be obvious in the first go, right? So
Hmm.
I think that resistance is always there. Also, this process requires the entire family to come together. So it's not enough that the mother wants to take the step, right?
Yes.
Everybody who's a part of this ecosystem needs to come together and take these decisions together. Because what we're
Hmm.
trying to essentially build is that, let's say, if the mother has to take decisions in the absence of the father or vice versa, they need
Hmm.
to be on the same page, right? Or in case after the parents, if a sibling needs to step up or another family member needs to step up, or
Hmm.
let's say even an organization needs to come in and take care of your child,
Hmm.
how do they know what is it that you want for the child? A child has
Hmm.
a certain lifestyle today, and you don't want that after you, that child is just taken care of for bare minimum things. You want him to continue the same lifestyle. And
True.
it's in most cases you also save the money so that the child continues the same lifestyle. But kisko pata hai, how does any third
That's
person know what your child wants? So it's important to think about why this process is important, and then I'm sure the fear sort of takes a backseat.
mm-hmm. Hmm. So how do you pitch it to parents? Like, how do you reach out to them, or they come to you? I mean, how has been how has been the progress in these years?
So initially, how we started doing this, the concept was to work with different special needs schools. So
Mm-hmm.
we would work with parents in their school. We would collaborate with different schools and do a workshop for them where we explain the very basics of a trust, a will, legal guardianship. What are these different terms, right? What
Mm-hmm.
does, simple things that we don't know as laymen, that we say that, oh, we've made our, XYZ person a nominee, so we don't need a trust. But in
Hmm.
reality, a nominee doesn't mean that he or she has any right or any holding over your asset or over your money. So just
Mm-hmm.
we clear these small doubts and we allow parents to ask us a lot of questions. So
Mm-hmm.
since I'm an engineer and I'm not the right person to answer these questions, usually I'm accompanied by my legal partner,
Mm-hmm.
right, who has 20 years of experience in this space. And
Mm-hmm.
he himself has parents who are differently abled. So
Okay.
everybody in my team comes from a background where we have a lived experience, where we have a personal experience. So when a parent talks to us, there is no, at no point should they feel that we're not understanding what they're saying.
Yes,
And also
definitely.
because I think today, and I think you'll really appreciate this because since you work with children, not any teaching mechanism will not work, right? You really have to understand the needs of the child and then work with
Yes,
them.
you do need to understand, definitely.
So it's the
I
same for legal solutions and financial solutions as well.
Mhm.
Just going to any financial advisor, any legal advisors, not helpful because they may not give you a solution that is customized towards your needs.
That's really a very valid point. And I remember you have a vision of reaching to 10 million families for this, and that's huge. And I see that happening also. But how do you intend to go on this journey?
I think I know it's a very ambitious number. I know that's a very, very big number. But today, I think there's technology by our side.
Hmm.
And look at you and me having a conversation via the internet,
Yes,
right? And I'm sure hundreds of people will listen to this. And I
true.
think same in the same way we can make information that we have accessible to so many people around us.
Yes.
All we need to find is does in our community, so in my mind the barriers that I can think of are language, right?
Hmm.
Different cultural backgrounds or different contexts. So
Hmm.
all we need to find is our sub communities amongst us who can empower other parents to carry forward the message, right?
Yes.
So just the power of content and the internet, I think, will allow us to reach so many
Definitely. That brings another question to my mind is what are your thoughts on having a multidisciplinary approach in bringing to surface the diversity, inclusion, and its integration in the society?
that's been a debate for as long as I have known that should are inclusive setups really the way to go forward.
Hmm.
And I think I'm also in two minds about it, simply because we don't understand how vast the spectrum is, right?
Hmm.
Autism is not just one like they say, if you've met one person, you've only met one person. So as long as the inclusive setup can uh, take care of the different needs and the diversity of everybody, I think it's
Hmm.
definitely the way to go forward.
Yes.
But again, if it instead of unifying everyone, if it divides people into brackets, then I think maybe we should think again. Again, are we equipped to help everybody using the same structure?
Hmm.
If not, then maybe we should think about a setup that truly benefits that that family or that community.
Hmm.
So I don't think I have a straight answer to this question.
Okay, so what I meant to highlight on was, see, the diversity, inclusion, inclusivity is one concept, right? So different professionals, maybe those legal background, financial security, like you come forward, those
Right,
working in the vocational rehab, like
right,
we work, Kickstart works for vocational rehab, rehabilitating them and making them prepared for
absolutely,
employment opportunities. There is another organization that would be working on other aspects. So if these organizations form a chain and work together for inclusivity,
absolutely.
how do you see that happening?
That's I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly I think what's needed. See, also because
Exactly.
imagine how easy it would be for parents to find new resources
Exactly.
on
Yes.
one single platform. And I think somewhere when I say leverage technology and leverage content, I think I mean the same. I think you and I are saying the same thing, just in different ways,
Yes. Yes.
right?
So, yes. So this is what I was trying to highlight on, that the idea of having this Friday inclusive talk and gathering different background professionals who are working on different segments of inclusivity is to make people understand that these services are available and we are a chain. We are linked to each other and we can be of help on all the dimensions and areas that you want to work in inclusivity. They don't have to
Absolutely.
hard. So definitely when somebody is coming to me for vocational rehab, I know that if I have to have work upon their financial and legal security, I know whom to call out for. So
Yes, yes.
this is very much required to work together, I think.
No, absolutely. And I think the good thing about our community is that we don't feel competitive in a bad way. I think we all
Yes.
come together because we understand the bigger picture, we understand the bigger cause.
Discussion to another very important segment on what are your thoughts on employment opportunity and sustainability? Because when we talk about the financial security, definitely having a legal guardianship and the other aspects, they play a very vital role. But making a person neurodiverse or persons with disabilities having a sustainable life and integrating them into different organizations for the same, do you see this? How do you view this?
So, you know, I work with different organizations on their diversity and
Hmm.
inclusion goals, and
Hmm.
it's 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 interesting to see how companies think that when they think of diversity and inclusion, they think directly of it. And
Hmm.
they don't realize is that there are some steps that they need to
Hmm.
do internally and do their homework before they
Hmm.
can. I think in India, the level of awareness and the level of acceptance for people who are differently able, especially neurodiverse disorders, right? Because they're not visible, so it's not very apparent,
Hmm.
it's not very
True.
obvious.
True.
And
Yes.
I don't know still how many people truly understand what these different disorders or the different conditions truly mean,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
kind of accommodations are needed. I think in our hiring journey, while there are some companies that are doing a great job, I think
Hmm.
if we really want to make this, take scale this up to a level where we see our community members in the workforce, I think first what we need to do is work on educating, sensitizing corporate how they can make them a part of their workforce. I
Definitely.
think that's step one. And then step two, I'm sure that when everybody's on the same page and everybody's aligned and aware of what it takes to make this a truly inclusive workforce, everyone will come together and work towards this goal. I'm sure
Yes.
that as educators, you have been working on a very diverse skill set for your students,
Hmm.
so that they can work in the mainstream. So you've been
Yes.
working not only on their skill but also how they present themselves, how they communicate with
Yes.
people
So
around
a
them.
lot of aspects come in picture, like apart from the motor or the fine motor skills, gross motor, cognitive skills, even life skills become important. We put
Absolutely.
in this vocational rehabilitation aspect on the Kickstart's board. So we are actually trying to, work upon an individual on his motor skills or other skills requirement,
Sure.
the all the neurological aspects and everything else, whatever the condition, the clinical scenario is, and the life skill. So that when they are going to different organizations, they know and we provide them a report of what are their skills and strengths. So the person over there knows where this person can do the best. Okay, rather
Absolutely.
than figuring out what is to be done best for them, and
Absolutely.
that is one thing I think we should also start looking in and work for, and that would give us a good result in future. What do you think?
I think that's a fantastic idea. Like
Hmm.
job mapping today,
Hmm.
the way it's
Yes.
done is not expensive, but what you're suggesting, start looking from the first step itself. I think that's fantastic.
Yes, yes, and that's what we are actually presenting to work in. But this is something that having two ends of financial security, one sustainability and another guardianship, these two go parallel and in hand, and they need to be reached out to more number of people.
Absolutely. I think,
Okay.
so if you look at anybody around you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when you truly talk about integration in economic sense, I'm only talking from like
Mm-hmm.
an economic perspective, is when they become part of your GDP cycle, right?
Hmm.
And they can only contribute to the GDP when they are employable and when they become a part of the economy,
Yes.
part of the
Yes.
workforce. So eventually, I think that is the goal,
Hmm.
and all the steps that we're taking are baby step towards that big goal.
Yes. And we look forward to make that a bigger one in future.
Absolutely. And when people
Okay.
like you and me and so many other people like us who are working in the same direction, I'm
Exactly.
sure we can accelerate the process also.
Definitely working hand in hand together. definitely would give a boost to it. So, with this, Shreya, it was lovely discussing with you on this economic and the financial security aspect. So, what is one takeaway that you would like to give to all the viewers who are watching our talk today?
Um, I think my takeaway would be to community members who are not directly, um, related to people who are differently able or are differently able themselves, but people who are our neighbors, who are our co-workers or policy makers. And I think there is first a need to be sensitized towards the need of the community. We build products, solutions every day without understanding the needs of a very large community, but they're also their society, they're uh, a part of their own country, right? So I think the first step for me is always education, to learn about the community first, because we're all very intelligent people, we're also very, very smart, and even our emotional intelligence is really high. So once we understand what is we're trying to achieve, I'm sure we'll be able to do that.
That's really lovely. That's really lovely. Thank you so much for giving your time on this very interesting discussion. And Kickstart's wishes best to you and your organization. And
Thank
we
you,
look
Saima.
forward to connect with you in future also on our journey of diversity inclusion together.
So do I. And thank you for asking all the relevant questions today.
My pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you.